Hi, so this is Karolina, and I'm here at the beautiful Purple Valley, Tenerife. Actually, we are filming for the first time in Tenerife. Usually our YouTube videos that we have been doing have always been happening in Goa. But now, as many of you know, we have two places where we are offering retreats. We have our retreat center, our usual retreat center in Goa. But then we're also in this beautiful place called Finca Naranjas, and we started to have the retreats here in Tenerife in 2021. So I'm not going to go into that story right now, because today we are actually here because I have the pleasure to have a chat with wonderful Chuck Miller, who came to Purple Valley, Tenerife for the first time last year. So this is the first time that we met, but you have actually a quite long history with Purple Valley in Goa. And Chuck is going to have a retreat here for a week now, and it's a beautiful name of the retreat. So the retreat is called A Beginner's Mind, Essential Spiritual Practice. So we are going to talk a little bit about the retreat, but first we are actually going to talk about the beginning of your yoga journey. And I wanted to read one thing from your biography that I have put up on our website.
Okay.
Which I actually really like. It is a small piece in the beginning of your bio. So, and it goes like this. I don't know exactly when I first got interested in yoga. It seems that the urge was there already from a very, very early age. And I think that's true for many of us yoga practitioners. We don't know what it is that is calling us, but yet we definitely feel it. What is interesting is what makes us answer the call, what you no longer can ignore. And with this, I'm going to give over to you. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about your story, since you have been practicing for a while now.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear that again. I haven't read that in quite a while. I feel that's very strongly true. I think the idea of yoga, this lofty goal of this enlightenment or samadhi, it's sort of the promise of a lot of yoga, is something that I think young children experience often, actually. So we hold that idea too far away from us. We think it's too far, we can't attain it, we don't even bother to think about it. And yet I think that, I want to say everybody, I don't know everybody, but most of us have had samadhi experiences. But it's been mostly accidental. It's just something that happened to us when we were a kid. You find this something very interesting that you just dive into it. It pulls you, it calls you. And you have an altered state. You experience a different sense of connection to the world that you live in. So that's a lot of what I meant by that, is that I think that we all have that. For me, the obvious point when I really turned towards yoga was in 1971. I was a senior in high school in Woodstock, Vermont. And there was a poster that had gotten put up in the neighborhood around Woodstock. And it was so exotic that my best friend and I were just drawn to it. And it was a poster of this Indian man with long hair and a turban on his head, and it said, "Transcendental Meditation with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi." And those words were not words that you heard in Vermont back then. So,
sorry to interrupt you. When was that?
1971.
1971. You said, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Woodstock, Vermont. So we had to go and see it. What is this? Transcendental Meditation, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And we found ourselves walking around for like weeks ahead of time, just constantly saying those words and just really amused ourselves. So we got there, and it wasn't the Maharishi. It was one of his missionaries that were going out and selling his product, which was these courses that he was selling. But one of the things that he said really stuck with me. And he said, the meditation practice, find a place to sit where you can sit safely and quietly and observe your thoughts as if they're bubbling up through layers of consciousness like bubbles in a bottle of soda water. And try to follow your way back to get to where they came from. And, as a kid, we used to play this game where we'd have a conversation and it goes off in different directions, and we kind of say, where did that come from? And we trace it back, and it's sort of a similar kind of a game. It's like, found a place where I could sit, and I started to do that. And just put me in touch with myself in a way that was really profound. The promise of the man that was offering this course was that if you paid $35 and took the class, they would give you a personalized, individual, custom-tailored mantra that you could use for yourself, which turned out to be totally not true. You know, it's like the people, I didn't have $35, so I didn't do it.
It sounds quite expensive for that time, no?
It was, for me, it was a lot of money
Yeah.
at that time. Anyway, people later found out as they asked each other, what was your mantra? What was your mantra? And there was only like 5 mantras that everybody did. So that was my beginning, was with that meditation practice. And I didn't get a mantra, but I was at a friend of mine's older brother's little trailer in the woods. And there was a book on the coffee table called Be Here Now by Ram Dass, 1971. And it caught my attention. I said, that's a good mantra. So I took it. And I just started saying to myself, be here now, be here now, be here now. And I was actually trying to be here now when I would say be here now. And that was an additional boost, you know, to the whole process. So in the book, I went and bought a copy of the book, Be Here Now, and in the back of the book there was a little asana routine, fairly simple, maybe 12 postures, most of them sitting on the floor or laying down, nothing very vigorous. And I started doing that, and I flipped. I loved it. Well, you know, it was meditation and philosophy is really what initially drew me to it, and then pranayama, and then asana. It sort of went in that direction, in that sequence. So it's not the normal way in, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think it doesn't matter which way you go in. And it's not linear. None of it's ever finished. So any part of it, you have to keep going back and enriching all of it. So,
But you also found another book that I know that was actually quite important in your yoga journey.
so, you know, sometime later, a couple of years later, it was 1974, I remember very well. Went into a bookstore in Rutland, Vermont, and I was looking for something. I was looking for something more to explain yoga to me. And it's literally like the book fell off the shelf and I caught it as it was falling. And it was B.K.S. Iyengar's Light on Yoga. And it was the issue that he did that was available to me in 1974 had a shiny mylar silver cover on it. So when you looked at it, you actually saw your face. And it's called Light on Yoga, you know. So I took it home and I read that. And what I didn't realize was both Be Here Now and Light on Yoga had the philosophy of Ashtanga Yoga in them. So in Be Here Now, the teacher was Baba Haridas, and he called his yoga Patanjali Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. And then Iyengar, the whole introduction to Light on Yoga was an explanation of Yama Niyama Asana Pranayama Pratyahara Dharana Dhyana Samadhi. So Ashtanga Yoga was calling me. I was bumping into it without realizing. It didn't really click to me until years later. So that book became really important to me. I carried around it with me everywhere I went. I actually made a special pocket in my backpack for Light on Yoga to fit into. And Vermont wasn't particularly conducive for me to yoga, practicing yoga. The culture that I was in was really not supportive. I would say it's a negative support. People didn't understand. They thought I was losing my marbles. They were ready to call the guys in the white jackets to take me away.
But was there a lot of yoga in US at that time?
No,
Has it
it's
kind of started to arrive?
I didn't know anybody that was doing yoga. When I was in the bookstore, interestingly enough, when that book fell in my hand, there was a girl further on down the aisle. And as I looked at the book, she said, "That's the one." I didn't know her. I didn't know anything about her. And so there, you know, she knew something. So there were people around. I just wasn't in contact with them. Years later, I found out there was a great yoga spiritual publishing company in Rochester, Vermont. They published all kinds of books on Tantra and other things. You know, I just didn't come in contact with it. So I didn't know anybody else that was doing yoga, and the community that I was involved with was negatively supporting my yoga practice. And so I just packed up my bags and hit the road, and 2 years later met Patabi Joyce.
So where did you go?
I went west. I was a skier, so I went to Colorado, skied in Colorado, and then worked in Colorado for a season. Saved up enough money that I could afford to just take some time off and drive around, and went up north into Canadian Rockies and then down the west coast and ended up in Marin County, Fairfax, California. That's where I met Patabi Joyce, 1980.
So what happened then?
So I was living in a house, rented a room, slept outdoors, just my style. I'd met somebody that was a student of Nancy Kilgoff and David Williams, and he kept telling me, I was reading Light on Yoga and I was practicing from Light on Yoga, and we were talking about yoga. He was doing Ashtanga with David and Nancy, and he kept telling me, come on, come to class. And I said, I'm not going to pay money to do yoga. I've got my book. I'm happy to do yoga with my book. So a couple months went by, and he told me that his teacher's teacher was coming. So that was Patabi. He was going to show up. And he said, you should sign up. And I was like, nah, I'm not, not going to spend money to do yoga. But the night that Patabi showed up, the night before he was going to start his first class, was a full moon night. And I was sleeping out on my hillside with the horses in a full moon. And I had this image of a kind of little bit rotund belly, a bald head, dark-skinned guy saying, come see my class. Wherever that came from, So the next morning I walked down the hill, and he had just finished teaching the first class, which is going to become the intermediate class, but the first day he did primary. He's standing there in his underwear with his Brahmin string around him. And I come into the door. He's like, who are you? I tell him my name. He says, you yoga student? I said, yes. I said, how long you practice? I said, 9 years. He said, oh, beginner. He says, who your teacher? And I didn't know. I didn't have any physical teachers. So I said, book. He said, which book? And I said, Light on Yoga. He went, oh. He definitely had some energy to it. It's like, oh, Iyengar student. Today you watch. So he made me watch. I sat in the back of the room and I watched the class, maybe 25 students, really different bodies. It was so amazing to me to see so many different structures and abilities. Some people super flexible and other people stiff and strong. Two guys in the back of the room were pushing up into handstand between every vinyasa and hovering in handstand and then slowly coming down. The image that I had was super powerful. It's almost like one of them was like breathing fire through his eyes and really loud Ujjayi breath, very dramatic. I saw at least 5 postures in the primary series I was positive I would never ever be able to do.
Which ones?
Probably Janishirsasana C. It's like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to do that. Marchasana B and D, probably. Maybe Bhujapirasana, I don't know. Garbhapindasana for sure. It's like, no, that's not going to happen. Like that. Next day I show up and it's like the whole primary series in one shot.
Really?
Yeah. 90 minutes, whole primary.
And how did you feel afterwards then? Because that was the first time that you actually had an Ashtanga class, no?
I was exhausted.
Yeah.
And it's like the story goes, I've told the story so many times, I thought everybody knew it.
No.
When I'd left after watching that day, I really needed to decide whether I was going to stay in California or move on. I'd been traveling a lot. And I went to see this class and I liked it. And so I said, if I'm going to stay, I need to get a job. So I was walking home that morning, and there was a house really close between where the yoga was and where I was living. Directly between there was a house that was being built. And they're putting cedar shingles on the house, which is something I did a lot in Vermont. I knew how to do it. I knew I was good at it. And I saw the guy on the roof, and he didn't know what he was doing. And it was obvious to me. So I stopped in and said, hey, I live in the neighborhood, I'm looking for a job. I've done a lot of shingling. Do you need some help? Yes. They knew he didn't know what he was doing. They were in trouble. So I told them I just started this yoga class and that I wanted to, class finished at 8:30. And they wanted to start work at 8 o'clock. So I said, can I come in a little bit late? So they gave me permission to come in at 9. So I finished the class, walked home, took a shower, made myself breakfast. I was tired. I said, I'm just going to take a short nap. I lay down on the couch and I woke up at 1 o'clock. I was supposed to be at work at 9. It's my first day of work. I show up 4 hours late. Okay, so it's like, I really want to do the yoga class. I paid my money. It's like, now I probably got fired. Ran down the hill, worked my butt off. They all left at 5. I stayed till 7. Got a lot of work done. Next day, same thing happened. I didn't wake up at 1. I woke up at noon, but still, it was,
Yeah.
3 days. Each day was an hour earlier until finally I was able to show up on time. They were cool. Lucky they let me continue.
Yeah.
So it's meant to be. Took me to Hawaii. So it was 2 months with them in California, and then Patabi went off to Maui.
And you went with?
The students arranged a deal where all of the Hawaii students who went through the burden of not working, traveling, having to rent a house and rent a car, it's already a hardship. So they were friends. They said, you won't have to pay the tuition for the class. Well, it was reciprocal. So when I paid my $200 to take the class in Maui, in California, it included if I wanted to get to Hawaii.
Yeah.
The class was free. So I said, why not go to Hawaii? So I did.
So how was the Ashtanga class? So you had your first Ashtanga classes in 1980 together with Patabi Joyce.
1980.
Yeah, and for how long were you practicing with him then over there?
So he was 2 months in California, and then 2 more months in Maui. Then I was going to go back to Vermont, but I stopped in Encinitas because there's a bunch of Ashtangis in Encinitas, and I stayed 2 months in Encinitas. So it was 6 months of, it was 4 months with Patabi, 2 months in California, 2 months in Maui.
Yeah.
And then 2 more months in Encinitas.
So that's kind of the origins of the Ashtanga.
Well, it's pretty close.
In the West.
That's the
anyway.
origin of it was Encinitas, and so Patabi came twice to Encinitas. 75, I think, and the second time it was either 77 or 78, I think it was. I think it was 78. He came when Manju came and stayed.
And yes, because Manju never left then.
Manju never left.
Yeah.
I think he came in 75, I'm not sure. Married a woman named Spring, hippie girl named Spring. She took the name Spring Manju. They weren't lovers. They were she just helped him out.
Yeah.
Got him a visa, got him a green card, He stayed. He's still there.
Yeah, he's still there. He's still there. Exactly. So then you went to Maui and you stayed there for a while.
So no, Patabi came back to Hawaii. No. He came back to U.S. And I caught him down in Austin, Texas in 1982. Stan Hefner was an Ashtanga. Stan was one of the guys in the back of the room when I watched the first day. It was piping up into handstands. He was super enthusiastic, let me say, and had a Ashtanga scene in Austin, Texas. So he brought Patabi down for 10 weeks, I think. So I was in Colorado. I drove my van down. I had a Dodge van, set it up as a camper van. And Stan had a big house and a big yard under the live oak trees in Texas. It's beautiful. In a hot place like Texas, you got these big oak trees with lots of shade in the background, grassy yard. And he did the yoga class in the living room of that place, but Patabi stayed in the house all by himself. And Patabi recognized me from California and Maui. And when I drove in with my camper van, he said, park it back here. So I parked it in the driveway of the house that Patabi was staying with his wife. And we had afternoons in the grass together when nobody was around. It's like a real bonding time for me with Patabi and Ama back then.
So was it difficult to communicate? I understood that his English was never the best.
It was difficult, but it somehow worked, if you hang with him and really try to understand what he's saying. One of the really fun moments was sitting on the picnic table in the backyard and asking him about the invocation, what the meaning of it was.
Yeah.
And for him to translate that for me. It was really kind of fun. Particularly fun moment was he had a hard time translating Nishre Yase. And he got all excited about it. He was like frustrated that he couldn't find the English words for it. And what he finally ended up saying was, something great is going to happen.
So what was his translation? Do you remember?
Of Nishre Yase?
No, of the mantra.
Well, one day Guru Nam, the bowing down to the lineage of teachers. He didn't really elaborate on, what I learned later was the idea that Guru Nam is the teacher of the teacher of the teacher of the teacher of the teacher all the way back to the beginning of time. Darshan, to sit in the light of, to study with, to learn from, the sacred teachings. Swa Atma, your true self. The happiness, the sukha avabodhe. Nishwarya says something great is going to happen. The jungle doctor is coming. He's going to pull out the poison from the hala to remove the ignorance, the moha, and then peace. So somehow he got that across, with limited English. I liked his English. It's something about people who don't speak the native language that have to be really efficient with what they say and direct. So lots of three-word phrases, like "let it be" or "do your practice."
It's simple.
Simple.
Yeah.
Simple and direct.
Spot on.
Yeah.
So how did you get to India then? What happened?
So in Austin in 1982, I spent a lot of time driving him around. He liked to go shopping, and he told me. He told me in Maui, I think one time we were in the car together. He said, "You come to India, I teach you all the postures." It's not that I wanted to learn all the postures. He just sort of offered them. I'm like, I'm not sure what that means, learn all the postures. So he said it again in Texas. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I should go to India. So 1983, I went to India. I was only planning on going for a month. And when I got there, I realized a month wasn't enough time. It was really hard back then to change your tickets and visas. The infrastructure was really not fast. It was really slow. So it was a trip to Bangalore, navigating Bangalore, paper receipts, and changing my stuff to stay 2 months. And I realized 2 months wasn't enough, so I went back to Bangalore and did it again. Asked for 3. And I finally just went back the third time and said, just give me 3 more. It was the maximum I could get with my visa. Was stayed for 6 months in 1983, 84. So he was going to teach me all the postures, but in 83, 84, I was there for 6 months. I'd already learned first and second. And I learned 3 postures in third in 6 months. That's all I learned.
Wow. It was slightly different from now.
Slightly different from
now.
Yeah. And it wasn't all the postures. It was.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. 2 years later, I went back again, 85, 86. But in 85, he was on Big Island, Hawaii. I'd been really busy with a job that I had in Colorado, carpentry work. And it was a good job that I really wanted to do. And he was coming, and the job wasn't finished, and I was kind of committed to finishing it. I was really frustrated because I wanted to go and study with him, but I couldn't get away. And finally, there was 1 month left, and he was going to be on Big Island for 1 month, Hawaii. And I told my boss, listen, I know I'm not done yet, but I need to go. My yoga teacher's here. I'll go for a month, and I'll come back, and then I'll finish the job. And the boss said, if you leave, don't come back. So I left. Went to Big Island, studied a month with him there. I showed up. He seemed to think that I was a third series student because he had taught me the first 3 postures of third. He was teaching a conducted third series class there. So he told me to show up for class third series. So I'd learned 3 postures of third, and it was the rest of it all at one time.
Okay. So did the series look the same at that time as it does now?
Yes. And so he'd already made the changes that he had made.
So what was the original?
So what I get from him, from what I talked with him, the third series wasn't really established.
Okay.
And talking to Manju said that he was really experimenting with the advanced sequences.
So do you mean that the third series was actually not established when you started to practice it in 1983?
I think it was more established because it didn't really change much the way that he taught me third series. He'd already made the changes that he ended up sticking with. Prior to that, it seemed flexible.
Yeah.
And it seemed like what he called groups of asanas, and there were different groups of asanas that were sort of stuck together in the advanced sequences. Like the arm balancings was one group, and the Hanumanasana, Trivikramasana stuff was another group, and foot behind the heads was another group. Manju said he was experimenting on us, in the advanced sequences. That first and second were pretty much stable, but the advanced sequences were more malleable.
Yeah, he had to experiment on someone. I guess that the Westerners really like the asanas, and we still do.
Yeah, exactly. And the Indians weren't really showing up for it in the same way, so.
Did you ever see him teach Indian students and Western students? Because I understand they did not have the same kind of classes, that they were not coming to the same
So
class?
when I went the first time in 1983, 84, we were not allowed to come in until 6:30 in the morning.
Okay.
And he had a 4 a.m. class they were like business owners.
Oh.
I think he might have had some younger students that came in at 4 o'clock, and I didn't know this until years later. He had some business owners that were kind of not really in great shape, overweight, Brahmins that eat a lot of rice and yogurt and ghee. And it was kind of like the men's club. It was interesting, kind of amusing sometimes to watch them. But years later, when Saraswati got the first house in Gokulam, they did a house opening ceremony where they had 2 Brahmins come in, and there's a all day long ceremony. It's typical Indian, big long ceremony. And they had an outdoor ceremony that took the whole morning, and then they moved indoors. And when they moved indoors, I was watching one of the Brahmins change his cloth. He took off the old dirty cloth from the outdoor ceremony and put on some new cloths. The Indians have this way they can do that without exposing themselves. The women do it and the men do it. But when he had 2 pieces of cloth. One was a lungi on the bottom, and then just a wrap over his shoulders. When he took the shoulders off, he had an Ashtanga body. He was a young guy. He was built like an Ashtangi, like somebody who's been practicing 3rd series. And I was like, Guruji, who's that guy? He said, yes, my student. So I think he had some people that we don't know about that studied with him early on. That are, they're going to be old now. It's kind of an interesting mystery as to some of who these people were. He told me the guy's name, and I wish I'd remembered it, but I don't.
Yeah. So Jack, so going away a little bit from that now. So how did you start to teach then? Because now you have been talking about the fact that you've been working as a carpenter, and you were still studying yoga. You came to India.
I was really happy just being a carpenter who does yoga.
Yeah.
And when Patabi was in California in 1987, I'd come back from India 85, 86. I was practicing, I think I learned 4th already. So I was practicing that on my own. In 87, he was in California, Santa Barbara. I spent a month with him there, and this cute little Israeli girl showed up for class one day, stood with her feet kind of turned out like a ballerina, was super flexible, but not very strong, but flexible. And after class, we had a little chat. It was Mati. She was just getting ready to quit her job as the manager of the Center for Yoga because she'd been offered to open up a school called Yoga Works in Santa Monica. She was 50-50 partner. So I didn't see her again for probably a month. I went to Maui for a month, and then came back to California, Encinitas, and he had a month in Encinitas, and she showed up. So we hooked up. We fell in love. We went out for breakfast, and then we never separated. So it's like 2 meetings.
Yeah.
One in Santa Barbara, one in Encinitas, and that was the end of the story. So we're doing long distance. I'm in Hawaii. I'm in Colorado, and she's in California. And she's opened up this yoga school. And I told her, this is a disaster. I'm never going to live in LA. I'm a country bumpkin mountain man, So of course I ended up living in California for 20 years. So I showed up thinking that I would just be there for 2 months, and not looking to teach at all. I didn't want to teach yoga. There was a guy teaching Ashtanga who didn't practice Ashtanga, but he had the piece of paper with the names of the asanas on it. And he would just call out the names of the asanas and the students would sort of follow along. So she said, go take his class. So it was a primary class afternoon. And, I was in my prime, first, second, third, fourth series. And I was just flying through primary. Bujapidasana without touching the ground, it's this kind of, back to Titipasana and jump back. And he's like kind of blown away. And I was like, what's the big deal? I mean, this is just primary series, nothing. So I kind of got the sense that I could probably do a better job than what he was doing, even though I really had no interest in teaching at all. So I went for it.
And that was at Yoga Works?
I was at Yoga Works.
Because that is kind of the origins of Ashtanga as well on yoga schools.
I think for yoga schools for sure, and Ashtanga in Los Angeles, really, it was Yoga Works that really established it there. There was a lot of Iyengar yoga in LA, but not any Ashtanga. Yeah, it's funny how life works, and I remember when I was driving Patabi Joyce from San Francisco in my Dodge van in 1980, it was 87, I guess. We went through LA, and he was like, why no yoga in LA? When we were passing through.
So you and Mattia are opening up the first school, and that's Yoga Works.
She opened it up,
yeah,
and I showed up later. I was in Colorado, and I'm never moving to LA. And it's like, you're going to have to move to Colorado, and we can open a yoga school here. But it didn't make any sense, and so I finally gave in.
So how was it to run a yoga school at that time?
Oh my God! I mean, in the beginning.
Sorry to interrupt you here. So it was kind of yoga now coming up. So was yoga starting to get popular, or it was still a little bit like not very well known?
Good question. In hindsight, it was coming up, but it wasn't obvious to us at the time.
It was not obvious to you?
It wasn't obvious to me. And it's like, is this school going to survive or not survive? And nobody thought it would survive. It's too much of a high rent district for a yoga school. Yoga schools mostly at that time were in church basements and community centers. And there was the Center for Yoga, which was a established yoga school. Ganga White was a Shivananda.
Yeah.
And he saw Shivananda's business plan and how Shivananda, opened yoga around the world. So Ganga was kind of professional that way in terms of business. Mati'd worked for Ganga.
Okay.
So she's got her Israeli business sense in her guts, So.
Can I ask you, so how much was a yoga class at that time?
$10 for a single class.
Oh, really?
We had a.
How much is it now?
I don't have any idea. I don't pay attention. I'm sorry. I don't know. I think a month of Ashtanga at that time was $100. Come every day for $100.
So tell me, so how was it to run that yoga school?
In the beginning, it was great. The classes weren't so busy. The early, it's like the honeymoon phase of running a yoga school. And so we had time to talk to the students and sit on the couch and relax and, clean the floors. And there's 8 teachers and lots of space. But it got busy fast. And before we knew it, it's like the pressure felt. It's just like the walls are getting pushed out. It's way too crowded. And
it was you and Matt teaching?
No, we were not the main teachers.
Oh, really?
In the beginning, I didn't teach at all. She was a minor teacher. The genius of her idea was, it wasn't about her as a teacher. Her plan was to employ the best teachers she could find in LA, invite the best teachers in the world to come and teach workshops to educate those teachers to make them better teachers. Super genius. It wasn't about her at all. She was not that confident as a teacher at that point. She wanted to teach. She was ambitious to learn to teach. She was taking teacher training courses and this kind of stuff, but it was not about her.
Teacher training courses were already existing at that time?
Yeah. The Iyengar community was already pretty strong in LA, and there were some good teachers there. And I'm not sure exactly. I know she took a teacher training course with Donna Holloman before Yoga Works opened up.
Okay.
And Ramanand Patel also. These were big senior Iyengar teachers. Judith Lassiter, well established, teaching teachers training courses back then. So it's Iyengar mostly. The Ashtanga community was bugging Patabi to teach a teacher's training course since I first started with him, and probably before that, from 1980. And it never really happened. His idea of a teacher's training course was you come do your practice with me. Come to my store, do your practice. Learn to practice and then teach.
Well, I do think that the practice is very important for the teachers in case you are teaching.
I do too, but I also think there's something significant. Maybe he didn't have the skills to do it.
Yes.
About teaching how to teach. It's a different thing just because you can accomplish and practice the asanas doesn't make you a good teacher.
No.
So
True.
And sometimes the best teachers were people that weren't that accomplished as yogi. They had more come down to the level of the student rather than sitting on a throne and doing fancy stuff and trying to pull them too hard.
Well, I think as a practitioner, in case you are experiencing quite a lot of challenges and difficulties in the practice, you definitely learn how to approach an asana in a different way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So often the best teachers were people that weren't so accomplished. It's not always true.
So when did you kind of really decided, when did you become main teachers? Because after a while it was actually about you and Matty.
So what happened was,
together.
In the beginning it was pay the rent. There was
Yeah.
a big rent on the school, and so she had a lot of different things, a lot of different activities. We had what back then was called Sufi dancing. There's an amazing woman that was teaching, that later became Dances of Universal Peace. She had some psychotherapist that was renting the space, and so there's a lot of different kinds of activities and different yoga lineages. There was Iyengar, there were some people from Kundalini, some tantric stuff, and it didn't cross well. These people disagree with each other, and they're kind of argumentative, and the teachers weren't supporting the other teachers, and so when I showed up and started teaching Ashtanga, and the Ashtanga program really grew, I felt like the yoga was too strong. There wasn't an entry point for people who were more beginning. So I had met Gary Kraftsow, desk guitar student, taught what was called Vini Yoga back then. I think they should have kept the name. I think the name was good.
Yeah.
I don't know why they changed it to Yoga Yoga instead of Vini Yoga.
Have they done that?
At one point it was called Yoga Yoga.
Yeah, oh really?
Or the yoga.
I think it's called Vini Yoga again.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I didn't know. So we brought him in to do workshops, and then eventually had some other teachers that studied with him teaching classes, like Leslie Bogart. And the classes were filling, and so as classes filled, we had less of the extracurricular non-yoga stuff. We kind of got pushed out. It was sad. We liked them. The Dances of Universal Peace were really a nice thing, but we needed the time slot. And then we really leaned, as the years went on, we really focused more on the teaching of Krishnamacharya. So we had the three branches of Krishnamacharya's Vini Yoga, Ashtanga, and Iyengar represented there. And that was really our focus.
Yeah.
But then we really broadened it, and it wasn't just that. We also had things like kids classes and pregnant women and mommy and me and seniors classes and restorative classes, and really a wide offering, which I think was really significant.
I think it was a kind of very progressive way of thinking.
Most of the schools were a single lineage.
Yeah.
It was Iyengar, or it was Kundalini, or it was,
Because then initially, I mean, for me in my world, because I'm an Ashtanga practitioner, both you and Matty have always been known as Ashtanga teachers. Though I know when I've been practicing with Matty at Purple Valley in Goa that she was bringing in other elements and teachings into her teaching as well, which completely changed my practice. And so did it when I practiced with you last year. So when did you start to kind of incorporate other aspects of different kind of teachings into the Ashtanga practice? Because I think initially it was only Ashtanga, wasn't it? So what happened there?
So, initially I started with the meditation practice, the book Be Here Now, Richard Hittleman, whatever was available in the 70s, and there wasn't a lot available. Light on Yoga was a huge help for me, because there's actually a course of study in the back of the book.
Yeah, remember it was supposed to take 35 weeks.
Right.
But it took you?
Yeah. So I don't know how long the course was like a 3-year course, but you do week by week, and in 3 years I got to week 35 or something like that, and I thought I was retarded. I just like, but I talked to other people, like even senior Iyengar people, say, you got to week 35? Like that was really good.
Yeah.
So, where's I going with that?
So my question was, so when did you kind of start to incorporate other kind of teachings into the Ashtanga?
So for me,
so then you said that you started with meditation.
I started with meditation, then studied Iyengar. When I met Pattabhi Jois, Who's Your Teacher book, Iyengar, you're Iyengar student. He called me Iyengar student for the first week I studied with him. And I studied with him, I just dove into Ashtanga. Ashtanga caught me. And to have a teacher was amazing, to be on your own and stumbling along. It took me 3 years to get to week 35. And I felt like in a month with Pattabhi Jois, I'd accelerated beyond what I ever thought was possible. It's like the 5 postures I was positive I would never do. I was doing all of those. And then when I went to Maui, the first week I was in Maui, it's like, Chuck, tomorrow you come 7 o'clock. It was the second series, and it was the whole second series in one day. So it's major. And then do it in India. So I was fully indoctrinated into Ashtanga yoga at that point. I was like an Ashtanga faithful, strict lineage, boom, no deviation. Yoga works after I met Mati, and we started bringing teachers in to teach workshops. And I started taking workshops. I don't remember what the first one was. One of the Iyengars. I didn't like it. I was an Ashtangi, and it's like it's all this slowing down, all this talking, all this detailed stuff. We were looking for teachers to bring. We went out scouting and met Richard Freeman in Colorado. We went to Richard's class in Boulder when he was still teaching at the Boulder Massage School. He had a little tiny room. It was like a closet in the Boulder Massage School. And he was doing it. He had practiced with Pattabhi Jois. That's why we went to see him. So it was after 87, sometime in 1988. And but it wasn't really Ashtanga that he was teaching. It was something sort of, some elements of Ashtanga, but a lot of other stuff. Anyway, so we brought him out. I don't know if we were the first ones to invite him to teach away at a workshop. It's possible. We brought him out every year. But we started bringing other people out. And Donna Holloman came many times. Ramanand Patel came many times. Judith Lasser came. A whole slew of different workshop leaders, and we studied with all of them. They offered teachers training courses, and we started taking those courses, and we're getting additional information that we weren't getting from Pattabhi Jois. And we were practicing Ashtanga, and we were using this stuff to make our Ashtanga better. It felt really good. It felt like this is what we need to do. It was impossible to go back, actually. It's like you can't unlearn what you've learned. It's the same body. It wasn't popular for the Iyengar teachers that we were studying with them. It's like, who are you? You guys are Ashtangis. What are you doing here? It wasn't popular for the Ashtangis because here we are practicing Iyengar yoga and we're mixing. So, it's like taboo. You're not supposed to do that. Stick with the one and don't deviate. But we knew it was good. We could feel it in our bodies and in our practice, So that's really how it happened.
And so when did you change your personal practice then? Because you were still practicing like the series or the Ashtanga series.
Yeah, I was practicing Ashtanga. For example, when somebody like Gabriela Jubilaro would come to Yoga Works, she would come in the morning and take my Mysore class. And then she'd finish quickly, and she'd stand up and we'd walk around the room together and give adjustments. And I learned a lot from how she would do adjustments in the Ashtanga class. She was great.
So who was Gabriela?
Gabriela Jubilaro was Iyengar's. She was Donna Holloman's apprentice for almost 14 years. I talk about her a lot. She's a really great teacher. High respect for both of them, Donna Holloman and Gabriela. Gabriela broke away from Donna after apprenticing with her for 14 years and really became dedicated Iyengar. She wasn't really fully Iyengar when Donna was kind of hybrid. Iyengar put her own spin on it. And what to say about that? the influences of all of those different teachers and how it helped us. You know, in Ashtanga, you can bump into some difficulties. You bump into some pain, your back hurts. And
Yes.
you don't understand why. And then somebody comes along and gives you an adjustment where they pull your buttocks down in your lower back and you create a different feeling. You go, wow, okay, that's real. That feels better. That started to happen more and more. The school got really busy, and my practice, I was still completely a dedicated Ashtangi, but practicing and studying whenever I could with whoever I could. My idea was that if Ashtanga is real, we should be able to investigate it. We should be able to take it apart and put it back together again. And if it's not, then we need to fix it. We need to change it. And so this whole thing about tradition and what is tradition and what's our responsibility within tradition, I think is significant.
Is this your approach today?
I would say that's the birth of it, is coming from that. Is that I still teach Ashtanga Yoga in my mind. And I just actually am trying to teach it, not just run through it quickly. The easiest thing in the world for me to do is to stand up and count the vinyasa and run through primary series. Guruji's wife, Amma, would laugh at Patabi and say that he actually does it in his sleep, literally in his sleep. She would hear him counting the vinyasas in his sleep. So I feel like that I could do it in my sleep. Much harder to really try to get in and tease out what we need to do to really improve the alignment. Is a naughty word in Ashtanga. It's really a shame because it's so important. It really helps the practice. It doesn't hurt Ashtanga at all. It makes it better. And that's really what I've felt. So Gabriella and Donna and Ramanand were all also very smart. Gabriella was a physicist before she was a yoga teacher. Ramanand was an engineer. There was something about that they brought to the practice. There's something about finding a simpler expression that then informs everything else that we do. And so this idea of the essential core practices that I'm talking about, there's things in our practice that are true all the time. There's always the breath. There's always the samavritti, ujjayi feeling of the breath. This ayama, this extension, expansion of the breath. So we're always trying to do that. But in reality, it's not always what we are doing. A lot of times the breath is getting pushed around by the practice. And so coming into a deeper internal awareness of what you're doing, where you don't let yourself get pushed around. I think the idea in yoga is that you are so deep into your center that you walk through the chaos of the world undisturbed by it. That it's not that it doesn't touch you, but it doesn't knock you off your center. And I think that the practice of Ashtanga Yoga is designed to challenge your ability to stay centered. It's challenging us. It's intentionally challenging you. It's samastiti. The word sama and the word samastiti is so essential and core. The practice of samastiti, not just the posture samastiti, but the practice of returning and coming into your center and calming yourself down. And there's something in yoga, when I first started with meditation practice and sitting still and you observe yourself. I love this comment by Jack Kornfield. He's talking to a friend of his who's not a meditator, but having trouble in life over and over again, and they're friends from childhood. And Jack would say to his friend, "You should try meditation, it'll really help you out." And his friend says, "Jack, every time I sit down, my mind goes crazy." Jack says, "No, Bob, every time you sit down, you're already crazy. You just notice it when you sit still." So there's something about finding the center that's always there that's really comforting in life. It's like you find Om in your heart, and it's there wherever you go. And so, you carry that around. There's something about that in the practice where there's essential things like the awareness of your breath and the sense of mindfulness and concentration, that's really more the value of the practice than the particular asanas that you're doing. The end of the story, we're all food for worms. So it's what do you do between now and then, to really access that and go deep into that sense of self, which is really what yoga is asking us to do. It's really not so much about doing asana. The asana is useful, but we need to treat it as a tool and not as the end of what we're doing here. Patabi Joyce would say all the time, this is not physical exercise, it's mental training.
Do you think that we have to practice the asana for a while to kind of get closer to the core?
I think that the practice of asana is really useful in the sense that, okay, let me back up. Patabi's little statement, when I first met him in 1980, 95% practice, 5% theory. That's what he said back then. Later he changed it, 99% practice, 1% theory. The 1%, it doesn't mean it's not important. It's the most important thing. The 1% is the target. It's the center of the bullseye. It's where we're trying to go. It's the sense of centering, of getting into your core. He was an Advaita Vedantin, Patabi Joyce. So this Atman is Brahman, is the statement of the Advaitins. So, knowing this one thing, knowing which you know the essence of all other things, when you penetrate deep enough into that Atman, you touch Brahman. So somehow in the asana to find that the asanas are a tool. They're not the end result. They're not the target, actually.
I'm thinking that age changes our approach to the practice. That as we are younger, we actually need to have the asana. I'm thinking of myself being more than 50 now. That initially when you start with the practice, when you start with the asana practice, it perhaps it needs to be there to kind of bring in more focus into your daily life. But as we develop, and I did not know that when I was 20, but being 50, I can kind of sit with myself in a completely different way. And I don't need to have the same kind of asana practice.
Right.
It may be that the asanas actually need to be there, or they are very helpful, as you say, as a tool initially.
I think the value of asana is as a diagnostic tool, as a tool for observation to help you see yourself in ways that are otherwise invisible. The asana can help you gain experience, which then helps you understand the philosophy. The philosophy we need to help guide our practice, to bring it to where it really needs to go, into this essential.
To the core.
Into the core.
Into the core.
Into the spirit. But philosophies can be difficult to understand, and having the asana practice to really test, can you be ahimsa? Can you cultivate concentration? Can you maintain concentration? Can you keep your attention on your breath through the whole practice? Who does that? Unbroken concentration on your breath. Something so simple.
Very difficult.
Very difficult.
Very difficult. Yeah.
So those kind of things, is really, I think, what we want to aim towards. And especially as we get older, I think that becomes more important to us. When you're young, you can get away with it, but it's kind of a shame. The samskars are so strong, they're so stubborn. The sooner you get after them, the better. So, your body hardens if you're not careful. One of the big mistakes is we're pulling on the tendons and ligaments too much. And they don't like that. It's the muscles that we want to be stretching, not the ligaments, destabilizing the joints. And we're trying too hard to do the postures. I think it's really a big mistake. It's not what they're for, to be done. There's no end to them, really. It's a trap to think that they're done.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to say that energy of trying to get to the end of them is coming from the top. It's coming from our leaders. They're pushing us to do that. But they know better. And they say better. It's like, it's like parents. I always thought, when I was a kid, I always thought adults were such hypocrites. They're telling you to do things that they don't do. They're saying, no, do what I say, not what I do.
Yeah. So Chuck, so the name of your retreat is Beginner's Mind. beginner's mind, essential spiritual practice. So in case someone be coming to your retreat, what can they expect?
Well,
because it is very different.
Yeah, it's very different.
And I think it's important to know that because also because with Purple Valley being an Ashtanga center,
yeah,
and very much we kind of quite a traditional Ashtanga center.
Yeah. And so I would argue that what I'm teaching is more aligned with traditional Ashtanga Yoga than what's called traditional Ashtanga Yoga. And I think that what I'm aiming towards at the essence of it, this beginner's mind, is that the beginning is more important than getting to the end. And the trap is trying to get to the end and then skipping over the beginning. And you don't have a foundation. Mm-hmm. So the basics and the essential core practices, the things that are actually priorities. So for an example, how important is the breath? It's 100%. Without the breath, there's no life. So that's how important it is. How important is your spine? Mm-hmm. How important is your spine compared to what you're doing with your hands and your feet? The spine's more important than what you're doing with your hands and your feet. So we should use the hands and feet and the arms and legs to help the spine. And then protecting the spine, enhancing the health of the spine, then challenge your arms and legs, hands and feet. Mm-hmm. So there are priorities. So this idea of make the beginning more important than the end. So that applies. That's a strategy to how you work with your practice. In what vinyasa means as an Ashtangi, to really understand the word vinyasa, it doesn't just mean you transition from up dog to down dog. It's a whole strategy for learning something that involves a gradual step-by-step approach. Mm-hmm. And gradual is something that each of us has to determine in real time. It's dynamic, it's always changing, and you have to feel it. And so that sensitivity and paying attention and observing yourself is what's called pratyahara. And to be honest with that observation as you develop concentration by trying to keep your attention on your breath and noticing that you don't. The practice is designed to challenge you, to make you stronger and able to hold to your center, to hold to those essential core practices. Mm-hmm. In every single vinyasa, if you make the beginning more important than the end. Vinyasa is like a trail that you're walking on, and you're sweeping the trail. It's like clearing the samskaras. And you want to sweep the trail from the beginning, because every day you're going to walk over all that trash. So get it out of the way as soon as possible. And the way that you advance is by continuing to broaden and deepen the basics, to go deeper into your understanding of the basics, which is part of this make the beginning more important than the end. Mm-hmm. It feels like the slow way. It feels like we're slowing down, but it's actually the fast way.
To create a strong foundation.
And to continuously go back, and the way that you improve is by going deeper into the basics. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Wherever you go, there you are. Yeah. And it's just that as you go through the sequence, you bump into difficulties. They were always there. It's just more obvious when you get to Kapotasana that, oh, this is challenging. But if you look back, you're going to find it all the way back to the beginning. Eventually, you get the sensitivity that you can find your samskaras just standing in samasthiti or laying in shavasana. So the practice is a tool to reveal these things to us so that we can actually do the work of clearing them rather than continuing them. And I think if we're just trying to do the pose, we're going to rely on the strength that we already have. That's going to get stronger. It's going to get harder. You're going to exploit the softness in your body to bend in places that are already bending too much. And the problem is we don't realize it until way down the road. The problem with yoga is that the injuries that we get they don't happen fast. They're long-term repetitive stress injuries that take a long time to create. And then 20 years later, you got a problem. It's really hard to change it at that point in time.
So as a teacher then, what kind of message you want to give to your students?
Don't be in such a hurry to get it done, to get to the end. Develop good skills early on and take the time to really go deeper into the basics. And it's, through that is really how you challenge yourself. Mm-hmm. That's in vinyasa, the preparations, there's preparation, there's sort of middle, and there's compensation or recovery from what you've done is part of how vinyasa works. And if you've done the preparations well enough, the next thing should come easy. If the next thing's not coming easy, the preparations haven't been done correctly. Mm. And I think that we're missing that. And we're finding tricks, and we're finding ways to get around the difficulties so we can create the illusion of doing the posture, because we think doing the posture is what this is all about. The hardest thing is to recognize that it's not about doing the posture. The posture is just, it's a mirror to help you see yourself. And when you do that, then your body is much more willing to open up, actually.
I had to digest your words.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, for sure. Philosophy in practice. You know, the philosophy's there to teach us, to help us guide our practice. And so I think we need to spend the time to study the philosophies and the wisdom that comes from that, and to interpret that and apply it to the practice. Lisa Walford and I were doing a Yoga Sutras study group, and it took us a year to get through the first chapter, Samadhipada. The agreement we had with the students was we wouldn't move on until everybody was willing to move on. Some weeks we would do 5 sutras in one sitting. There was times when it took us 5 weeks to get through one sutra. And it was like, why is it so difficult? I had an epiphany. Everything Patanjali is writing about is to help us learn how to cultivate the environment in which to have an experience of samadhi. That's it. So this Samadhipada, as the first chapter. Patabi walks into the room. What's the first thing he says? Usually it was, yes, samastitihi. Sama, stiti. It's not that far away from samadhi, the same idea. The first breath practice, samavritti ujjayi pranayama, the same word sama, coming up over and over again. So what is this word sama? You know, it's something about, there's something about that, this sameness, this coming to this place of your center, coming back to balance, maintaining the balance. In the same way that everything that Patanjali was writing was to cultivate an environment in which to have the experience of samadhi, the same thing is true for the asana practice. The whole purpose of all of it is to help us reduce suffering, to get to a place where we can have an experience of Atman and Brahman are one.
I'm not sure it is going that direction today.
No, it's not.
Actually,
it's not at all. It's become more like contortionism and more like gymnastics. It's all about, you know, the tricks.
So have you seen that change from when you started to practice till now, or is it?
I think it's more in that direction that I'm not happy about. It's not that wasn't existent already. I think it's in our human nature.
Yes.
It's a really, really difficult thing that we're trying to do, is to break free of those old patterns, of the samskaras. That's inherent. It's an inherent difficulty for all humans, you know. And the yoga, the genius of the yoga is it's a tool to help us do that, if we use it for that. But if you're just using it to do fancy postures, to then do what? Boost your ego, you know? We're comparing ourselves to each other. What's your pose? What's the last pose you've learned? It's like, who cares? It has nothing to do with who you are as a human, really. Not really very much.
Yeah, it is very asana focused, everything.
Yeah. There's so much going on, you know, and I think one of the other dangers is the whole thing of feeling like you have to stay in the flow, you know, and it's like, yeah, you get a great feeling when you pump it out. I know that. When you're done, you're high as a kite, you know, you're clear, you're lucid. That's fantastic. But, you know, the body is a pharmacological laboratory. It's producing all kinds of juice. It's, you know,
Yeah.
you get hooked on that juice, you know. People show up, they're in pain, and they feel great when they're doing their practice, and when they're done, you know, at the end of the practice, they feel great. 3 hours later, they're hurt again. You know, that's the endorphins flooding your body.
Yeah, yeah.
It's real. Much better off showing up not in pain, bumping into a lot of discomfort during the practice, and then at the end of it, wow, I feel great. That's what I'm looking for. It's like you've faced your samskaras, you've met them, it's uncomfortable, you're pressing against them, there's some work to do, you know, and your body says thank you. That's the direction I want it to go. Ashtanga is awesome. I'm not anti-Ashtanga, I'm pro-Ashtanga. I just feel like it's kind of veered off course.
So Chuck, so I'm going to slowly go towards the end of our chat today,
a long
but
chat.
I actually wanted to ask you one thing, because now we have been practicing for how many years have you been practicing yoga now?
71 until now, so I don't know how many that is. I'm 71 years old now. I started in 1971, so
1971, so we are in 25, so that is
I was 17 when I started, so
29.
it's a number of years.
Yeah, it's a number of years. So what does your practice look like today then?
My practice today is much more, I'm not in, I haven't done a full series in I don't know how long. I still like to use the Ashtanga Yoga to teach yoga. That's what I like to do. Very often, honestly, the way I like to start is on my back. I like to get on my back. The back of the body is the part that's unconscious. And one of the ways you can really bring more consciousness to the back of your body is by putting it on the floor and feeling it. So I'll do on my back with my legs up the wall. And so you've got a lot of constraints. The whole back of your body, from the back of your leg and the back of your body, is constrained by the wall and the floor. And you've got contact with it to bring intelligence into that. So in that position, I can play with finding forward tilt, backward tilt in the pelvis, the stretching of my hamstrings, my shoulder blades, my shoulders, all this kind of stuff, and sort of check in with where I'm at from whatever's happened prior to that. And then I love being upside down, so a lot of Viparita Karani, and things from Viparita Karani, you can all kinds of directions, flexion, extension, rotation, twisting, you know. But being upside down feels good to me at this stage in my life.
Yeah.
And how I feel after an hour of that, you know, on my back, rolling around, I like to do super slow articulations of every single vertebrae, you know, going up and coming down from Shavasana to Dandasana on your back, to Halasana, to, you know, to Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana, to Halasana, to Karnapidasana, and then super slowly coming back down and feeling every single vertebrae one by one, not stuck, but freedom of movement in every vertebrae feels great. And then some kind of extension. I like Viparita Siddhabandha Sarvangasana, and support it on a block. And then you use the block to, you find a neutral starting position with your back on the floor. Lift up, put a block or two on there. Find neutral on the block and rest there for a moment and let the relaxation sort of help you. And then work and come down, work and come down. If I'm feeling fun, I'll put my hands back and play from there and see if I get into Urdhva you know, so.
And have you been working with any form of injuries then?
I've got a rotator cuff impingement that was caused by a lawn mowing accident 3 years ago.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm working through it. It's getting better. I think I'm 85% recovered. It took 3 years. It takes longer. You know. No, I feel pretty good. I don't really feel much injury. You know, I got little like Texter's thumb.
Yeah,
you know, it's like this.
Not yoga related.
Not yoga related.
Yeah. Good. Chuck, thank you so very much for this fantastic chat. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Karolina.
And I'm very much looking forward to the retreat that is going to start on Saturday. And for anyone that would like to come and practice with Chuck, I'm going to put your website in the comments under this video. And also Chuck will be in Tenerife next year in May. So you are coming back.
Okay.
We decided, no?
We just did.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you will be having an opportunity to come and practice with Chuck over here. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Pablo.
We've got a lot of work to do, man, to edit that down into something usable. Good luck.